Good evening. I recently found out that my kids, now in their teens, have more than 50% chances of living past 100 years old. Can you imagine? Honestly, I do not know what it takes to live a rich and fulfilling life that is that long. But I do know a learning mindset can make it more enjoyable for longer. I happen to believe lifelong learning is the new normal in education. And why is that? To begin with, longevity drives this phenomenon and the different needs from the different generations. My kids, Luis, Ricardo, and Teresa, now on their teens, the new generation, will think of lifelong learning as part of their education from the outset. And they will need it. Because at the age of 70 or 80, when they're still active, they will need to have learned new things from what they learned way back in school or college. And yes, I think they will still be active at that time. None of this retiring at 60 or 65. Imagine, 40 years as a retiree. We don't want that. But not only lifelong learning will be important to stay active at 70, they are likely to perform many new jobs that have not been invented yet. I can very well imagine my daughter making a profession out of raising AI. But this lifelong learning is not only something of the new generations. Imagine Joe. He's 55, maybe 60. He's left the company that he's worked at for 25 years. And he probably has another 15 or 20 years to go where he could start anything he wishes to start. For Joe, lifelong learning is a chance to redesign a second chapter of his life, not only his professional life, his life. The same way Joe invested 4 to 6 years in formal education to prepare for a profession a career that lasted 25 or 30 years. Joe may want to consider investing again, both time and maybe money, to think about how to make the most of this second professional career. Lifelong learning for him is a door opener to a brand new life. But think Karen. She's a millennial. She's 35. It turns out she's likely to have 10 to 12 jobs before she retires. And unfortunately, with 3 to 4 years of an average tenure at a given company or institution, she's not likely to get a whole lot of training. So for her, lifelong learning is a weapon, is the platform she can use to move to the jobs she desires to have. It is the platform that will get her to deliver the high levels of performance that the institutions she works at expect from her. So longevity and the different generational needs are a key reason why lifelong learning is here to stay. But there is demand for that as well because, let's face it, the shelf life of knowledge is shortening, and this is mostly due to technology. And yes, I will bring up the old example of it took 75 years for the phone to reach 50 million people. It turns out Angry Birds reached that same 50 million people in 35 days. So that's the kind of speed we need to get used to. And as the economy leans more and more on the knowledge sector, the need to stay updated is paramount. There is a need for continuous development and continuous learning. So there is clearly demand for ongoing learning. But it turns out there's a huge supply of learning resources that is making this possible. Let me start by stating that free knowledge didn't come with internet. Free knowledge was here in public libraries for centuries now. What internet has done and the online learning world has done is provide accessibility at an exponential growth. To give you a sense for it, every month there is at least 1,500 massive open online courses offered widely for free. And there's an equal amount, or just as large, of paid learning resources. So there's certainly no shortage of supply. I feel I have to warn you against curiosity binges. I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to, certainly watch TED very often, but also go online and start some of those MOOC courses. And oftentimes with this overwhelming supply, what happens is that you have the perception of learning, but it's just that, a perception. As I'll tell you later, learning takes something more. So let's assume there's, demand and certainly supply of learning resources. I'll end this point with a very important finding that I think is critical to understanding why this is the lifelong learning is the new normal. Recent brain research proves that learning is actually good for you. Cognitive training can be a good prevention from diseases. And so I can imagine a world where you go to the doctor and he will ask any of us, have you done your, weekly exercise at least 3 times a week? And you've got to say, oh, not there. And as part of that process, as part of that protocol, they will also ask us, have you done your 3 hours of learning on a weekly basis? Because it is good for us. So hopefully by now you're convinced that lifelong learning is here to stay. It is going to be the new normal. So the question now becomes, what do you do about it? And I'm sorry I have to break the sad news. Learning is not easy. If it were, we would all be speaking multiple languages, have many degrees, and be experts in a wide variety of fields. Learning is hard. And it turns out there's an entire industry developing, trying to make learning more effective, more fun, more engaging. I would contest that before any of those solutions become relevant, if you want to start your learning journey, you need to start by doing something simple, like developing a learning mindset. And what is a learning mindset? Well, it's the combination of curiosity, desire to explore, and the fundamental belief that one is capable of learning anything. So I do not want to hear any of this, I'm not good at math. Or how about I'm not good at languages. You can learn both math and languages if you set yourself to do. We need to get past the debate of, what we learn is a function of our IQ. It's a function of our natural talent. It's a function of age. There's enough research proving that our cognitive skills are largely modifiable. So please, lose the fear of learning. Dive right into it. So if you have the learning mindset, the second thing I would encourage you to do is look for a context that pushes you to learn. Look to be at work, at school, with your friends, with people that challenge you and actually push you beyond your comfort zone. Can you believe I spent almost 20 years in management consulting? When I think about it, it blows my mind. And why was I able to do that? Because of the phenomenally rich learning environment that I was able to enjoy. I had regular training, continuous feedback, systematically pushed beyond my comfort zone. I actually attributed to that environment the fact that I was able to stay there for that long. And I really, truly enjoyed it. And I now have made another choice. I am closer to the academic world where I continue to be challenged, where I continue to discover new ideas. And I am very, very happy. I only get feedback once a year. But anyway, just find an environment that fosters learning. It will do half of the job in this journey that I'm encouraging you to take. And finally, I might share with you something that has been proven and that cognitive scientists have discovered a long time ago. It's a simple recipe, but it is the importance of deliberate practice. And what is deliberate practice? It's purposeful, regular practice. And so imagine you want to run a marathon, and you run every day. Does that mean you're going to get ready for the marathon? No. Purposeful, regular practice would invite you to think about how can you improve your running times? How can you improve your resilience? How can you prevent injuries? It is all this thoughtful practice that would actually deliver the learning. My favorite story on deliberate practice is this couple from Hungary who back in the 70s set themselves to prove that anyone could become a genius if they put in the right amount of dedication. This couple had 3 daughters. They trained them in the game of chess from very early age. The oldest was the first woman who ever won the Grandmaster status, competing against both men and women. Quite an achievement. The second one overcame that achievement. And the third one, Judith, she reached Grandmaster status at the age of 15. Never before had anyone reached that status that young. I realize this may be a little bit of an extreme example of what deliberate practice and expert coaching does to you, but hopefully you get the point. So, if you develop a learning mindset, if you put yourself in the environment that invites you to continue learning, if you put in enough effort and dedication, you can learn anything you want to learn. And as I said earlier, there's many reasons why you might want to consider engaging in this lifelong learning journey. And I cannot stop to think what a world where lifelong learning is the new normal would look like. And I imagine schools that focus on providing children not only the foundational knowledge, but also work on developing a learning mindset. I imagine a world where adults have the curiosity and the humility to continue asking questions. A world where people take on their own learning, even if they're 80. If you think this is your world, please never stop learning. Thank you.